Hello, everybody. How are y'all? With us today, we've got Dave Gordon, who is the regional sales manager for everything east of the Mississippi River. I've been saying west of the Mississippi River all day because that's my territory, but Dave Gordon is east of the Mississippi River. My name is Greg Pinniger. I am the RSM for everything west of the Mississippi, plus Illinois and Wisconsin. So, and here momentarily, you'll have Larry Barnes joining us. He is wrapping up a call right now, but he'll be on shortly. And we appreciate everybody coming on and join us today. Hopefully it'll be beneficial. I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint worked out, but ideally I thought we'd just walk through some discussion topics and you can kind of pick our brain and we can share a little bit about what we've encountered and can help you design and deploy your next system. Dave, is there anything you wanted to say to start off with?
Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone's staying safe in these trying times. This is certainly an environment we're not used to. I know business is slow for everyone, so we're just trying to simplify the process. And any way we can help you, we're here to do that. Some people are working. Some people, companies have chose not to work. I know I'm getting a mixed bag here in Pittsburgh, is where I'm located at. And we're getting a mixed bag of people. Some are working, some are not, and some companies have some people off, and some are working. So it's been interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm in Austin. Same type of deal. It's interesting seeing the way people all across the country handle this differently. But being an essential business, I think most municipalities have considered those of us in the security business an essential company or an essential business, and so everybody is involved in some aspect or another. Larry is joining us there. You see his smiling mug down there at the bottom. And as we mentioned before, Larry is head of all things technical for North America. He's the one that makes the world go around. You talk to him and his team anytime you come in for a type of or have a kind of technical question, tech support issue, and he also helps Dave and I keep in line with all the new product coming out, and is a tremendous resource for us here in the office. So thanks for joining us again, Larry.
No problem.
And if you didn't already know, most of us are working from our home offices. Dave and I are traveling all the time, so normally we're in the airport or on points in between. Larry's normally out of our South Lake office there, which is sandwiched between Dallas and Fort Worth there in North Texas, where our North American headquarters is. But so like everybody else in the country, we're trying to figure out how to do this home office thing and bring you some content that hopefully you'll find valuable. I wanted to see if we had any questions before we get started from the group. And at this point we don't, but so we'll go ahead and get started. I thought it might be most beneficial just to kind of have a roundtable type discussion. Dave's been in the industry for 25, 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. Unfortunately, I'm trying to lower that number, but it's that means I'm getting older, so I'm not too happy about it. But no, it's been a good industry for me. I've been with Rosslare now for 5 years, and we have some great products that a lot of people are not even aware of. They're not aware of what Rosslare is. They're not aware of who Rosslare is, and they have. We make products for various products that Greg will be touching on in his presentation for some of the biggest names in the business.
That's right.
As well as we have a lot of products that are competitive to companies like NEDAP. With their long-range reader, I just saw a circular come out for ADI that NEDAP is selling their 25-foot reader for $1,200 on sale. So I think we'll have something to say about that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But Greg, I'll let you take the show here.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate everybody coming on. So today I thought we'd do like a roundtable, as we did mention earlier. The premise of today's talk is around designing or planning your next Rosslare installation. However, as comments come in, we'll be glad to open up for other discussion, but we'll do kind of a roundtable type discussion, and with your permission, I'll moderate. But first of all, let's Well, I didn't ask you, Larry. I apologize. Your background, you've been with Rosslare for many, many years, but your background is originally from telecommunications.
Yeah, I've been with Rosslare going on 7 years now, but I came out of the telecom environment, mostly on the manufacturing side as a product engineer and such. So, but my background is hardware electronics. My favorite programming language is still solder, and that's my hardcore hardware background. So
There you are. And I've been in the security and low voltage business for many years, not quite as many as Dave, but I think I'm at 27 or 28. I'm gaining on you, Dave. Look out. It was early 90s, I think, is when I actually got started. So you've got some folks who's got some background here. But starting off, as far as and Dave, you or Larry, either one of you jump in as you want. When you see your customers planning an access control, what do you see as the first thing that they have to think about when they're trying to design or lay out an access control system?
Larry?
well, certainly, I mean, the first thing is we need to look at, how many doors is it? How big is it? How many sites are involved? How spread out is it? I guess next step after that is, what kind of technology are they looking for? Is it just door control, simple RFID, or are we going to deal with gates, garage doors, things of that nature in addition? That's kind of my starting point to start trying to size up what hardware would fit best.
Right. Anything you want to add to that, Dave?
Yeah, I always ask the question of who, what, when, where, and how.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to give you your basis as to what you're looking for out of your access control system. What doors are you trying to protect? Who's going to have access to these doors? What type of access are they going to have? Are they going to have keypads? Are they going to use proximities?
Right.
Okay, if we're going to do proximity, are we going to use key fobs? Or are we going to use cards? If we're going to use cards, are we going to use clamshell? Are we going to use printable? Those are some of your basic questions. The next questions are going to be, is this going to be a network controller? Is this going to be standalone? What type of environment are we locating the readers in? Those are the important questions. You want to get the foundation to any good system design. You have to have the very basic questions answered.
Right. I appreciate that. Switching over on the screen, so I apologize if it looks like I'm distracted. I'm trying to make sure I get any questions answered that come up. With Rosslare and our line of controllers, we offer everything from a truly standalone solution that you can control one door, one gate, real popular in pool or clubhouse type scenarios. We also have convertible. In fact, I have the ability, I think, I can pull up a PowerPoint and kind of walk you through some of these items as well. And I apologize for being a little off today, off my game. My computer and headset decided they didn't want to play nice together today. So I am flying somewhat blind, but we'll see what we can do to make the best of it. Let's see.
That's okay. You can't tell, but I had to tape my headphones up last night. I broke one side over here, and so it's now held together with electrical tape. So,
well, there you go. We shall overcome, Larry. We shall overcome. So as far as standalone convertible, Rosslare offers a wide variety of options in that space. And I'll clarify a little bit, and Dave, you can jump in certainly too. As far as our standalone controllers, we have two basic varieties. You have a true standalone controller. It's got the relay built in. So all you really need at that point is a lock and a power source, and you're basically ready to go. Then we also offer a product called a convertible, and the convertible is everything you need except you need a power supply with a relay, so you can fire the lock. You need a lock, and then you're good to go. With the convertible, you have the ability to either use it as a standalone or as a Wiegand input or a Wiegand reader keypad, pinpad, for full-blown access control system. I call this kind of our gateway drug toward some customers start out, some end users start out wanting just one door of access, and then all of a sudden they see how awesome it is, and they say, well, let's add more doors. If you installed a truly standalone reader, you're going to have to take that out, and or standalone controller, you're going to take that out and put in a Wiegand reader. In the convertible world, you just simply repurpose that same reader, disconnect it from the relay, and tie it into the controller, and then you're good to go. So gives you quite a bit of options in that space.
Yeah, the standalones, if you're doing, one or two doors or gates, and the customer is not going to have a lot of churn, a lot of change of codes, things of that nature. The standalones are a very simple solution, very little overhead, equipment wise, or certainly no software, no PC required, that sort of thing. The problem with the standalones, or limitation, use the right terminology here, is everything is managed through the keypad. There's no logging. You can't do any kind of logging to see who came and went when. And when you do have to go do changes, you're doing it all kind of blind through the keypad. You've got to keep track of who's in what slot manually and offline. Or if you're using cards, it's even more important. You've got to keep track on a spreadsheet or Big Chief tablet who's got what card and what slot in the keypad you stored their credential in. Otherwise, your only option to get rid of a card when a card gets lost is to go in and reset the whole keypad and start all over again, re-enter all your cards. So for a few users, not a problem. If there's not a lot of churn and change, not a problem. Very simple, very reliable solution. But anything beyond that, if you're getting up there at 50 or more users, and you've got quite a bit of change, possibly even something as simple as an HOA gate or something like that, where you got a lot of people, coming and going, and you need to be able to manage it, would get very time consuming to manage, especially multiple keypads. You've got to do each one independently. And that's where that step up to like an AC215 with a network manageable panel would be the way to go. You don't have to have a lot of infrastructure. You do need a PC with the software on it, but it doesn't have to be a dedicated PC. And we can still connect directly to the panel. You don't even have to have a LAN connection there on site. Just hook up to it and manage it within the software. So,
right.
That's kind of my 2 bits on the subject.
And you brought up an important point. I don't want to jump ahead of you, Dave, but you brought up an important point that we probably should have talked about at the beginning. The most important thing you can do when you're designing and deploying an access control system is document, document, document. You cannot have enough documentation, particularly as you get into some of your programming and our AC links feature. No matter how brilliant you are and how good your memory is, you're not going to remember everything that you deployed or everything you created for that access control system. So always find some way to document and archive that data so you have it available as needed.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when you're designing an access control system, you got to ask the right questions, and some of those questions need to include, well, what's the future look like? Meaning, how are they looking to expand that? How are they going to expand that system? Are they going to, if they're doing a standalone reader, even though that cost-wise may be the best decision, the reality of it is that standalone reader may become obsolete within 6 months simply because you wanted to add a second door, or you wanted to grow the system, or quite frankly, you want to create an audit trail so that you can manage users. And so that's why it's important as an integrator, when your customer is looking to do an access control system, you need to ask those questions of what the future looks like and how the system is going to be grown. And it's even important in our side of it simply because of expansion, which Greg will be touching on with our expanders and how our systems grow. That's a question that needs to be asked, is how big is that system going to be ultimately? Not today, but 3 years from now.
Which is a great segue for our next screen. How about that? It's almost like you knew it was coming. So we have a full line of everything from a very entry-level system with our AC215 IP which is a terrific, cost-effective controller. It's a 2-reader controller, so it can operate in a single door in and out or a 2-door scenario, up to our flagship product, which is a true enterprise level solution, the AC825 IP, which, as you can tell, 100,000 users, 500,000 event logs and everything. Larry, Dave, anything you want to talk about, your favorite controllers or aspects of either of these controllers that people need to consider when they're deploying a solution?
Well,
Certainly.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Larry.
Dave.
All right. Once again, it's the size.
Mhm.
What is your expectations as far as growth? If you're going with a 215, it's an awesome panel. You can get 2 doors out of it, but you can't grow it. You can't expand that inside that cabinet. You can't add an expansion board to it. The 225 and the 425s you can grow with expansion boards. But really, the 825 is your solution to growing beyond 4 doors. It really is the best bang for your buck, which I'm sure you'll be touching base on.
Right.
As Dave said, the 215 is great. You got 1 door, 1 or 2 doors, and that's all there is. Go for it. It's a very affordable panel, but our workhorse for a reason is the 225. We can expand it. Of course, you can always expand any of them by daisy chaining additional panels off of it, but the 225 is expandable to 4 readers. It just overall is I think is the best bang for the buck going forward, because you do have that expansion capability built in, as Dave said. So they got 2 doors today. Maybe they want to add a 3rd one, decide they want to put a 3rd door under control somewhere down the line. It's there, it's ready to go without a lot of additional installation required. Simple daughter board, wire up the door, and you're done. So.
Right. And I'm seeing more and more folks run the controllers out to the edge as opposed to home running some of the readers back. And Dave, I don't know what you're seeing in your world, but from a labor saving standpoint, sometimes the answer is not a bigger controller, but more controllers. So utilizing the 225 and put those throughout the facility and network those back into the server.
Absolutely. And I've seen that several times where they've actually have located a 215 out, because it's a lot easier to put it on the network out on the other end of a plant than it is to try to wire it back to and home run it. So yeah, I mean, from the cost point of view, putting a 215 or even a 225 out in the field sometimes is your better option.
Right.
Especially if you can use an MDW11 or something along those lines as well, as far as bringing a reader back to the panel.
Right.
But there's a ton of options we can provide the integrator to create the appropriate solution.
And this would probably be a good point to mention that if you do have any questions with that type of thing, reach out to Dave or myself or Larry. And we can help you with putting together a bill of materials and whatever you need to. It's from a design element. We do that all the time. So don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us or any one of us, and we'd be glad to help you with your next quote. We have 2 basic connectivity with our panels, with our control panels. Our 825 it has a full duplex bidirectional signal, and so it's a very powerful network. And then our 215, 225, and 425 controllers are half duplex, and they utilize RS-45, where you can connect several of those controllers. In fact, I've got a sheet here that explains that a little bit better. Now, with all of our controllers, you can have up to 1,023 in a maximum scenario. Now, the reality is, engineering the engineering environment is a little different than real world. And so what Larry always encourages me to remind you is that ideally 8 panels per RS-485 bus is kind of the maximum recommended. And then typically we don't want to see the RS-45 network go beyond 2,000 feet. Although that, again, the engineers will tell you 3,000, 2,000 is your best practice with that. Larry, do you want to add some information to that?
Add some color on that? Yeah.
Add some color, please do.
color commentary.
Uh-huh.
So on the network side, as he said, we've got multiple options on the panels with and without an IP interface. All of them have the RS-485 networking capability though. So a lot of times you can, it ends up being a mix of panels, and you can leverage the company's LAN if they've got one to put panels out closer to the doors. And then if you need 2 or 3 panels out here, go ahead and daisy chain 1 or 2 off of the first one. And mixing and matching those within the system is all transparent to the end user once it's configured. Because a door is a door, a reader is a reader. If you go through and name everything with logical names, it's totally transparent to the end user. They just know they want to give somebody access to the back door, the side door. Doesn't matter what panel it's on or anything else. Likewise, you can mix and match the connectivity types. LAN versus the RS-485, again, becomes all totally transparent to the end user once it's configured. And I try to minimize the length of the RS-485 runs. If I've got a really long run, leverage the LAN connectivity in the building if it's there. Use it for your long haul, and then keep your RS-485 jump short and just a few panels at a time.
While we're thinking about, Larry, why don't you talk about different kinds of wire? What do you recommend for wire for the RS-485?
Well, the RS-485, the actual standard, and I've got it somewhere in another presentation. The actual standard is a very specific cable with 120 ohm impedance, shielded twisted pair. To buy the real stuff is also very expensive, and rarely does anybody bother doing it. But up to 1,000 feet on both our legacy panels, meaning the 215, 225s, 425s, as well as on the expansion boards for the 825. Properly installed Cat5 or Cat6 cable is fine. And in my hardware guide, I've got some very specific wiring instructions. But the big thing is you want to make sure you put your data on a pair. It is shielded. You have the termination resistors at both ends, as we show. All of that really is the RS-485 standard. It gets abused and ignored a lot. But when you're running it, our legacy panels are running at 9600 baud. It's a little more forgiving. That's why, yeah, you can get 2,000 feet out of it. The 825s, though, it runs much higher baud rate to those panels. It runs 56K or 115K. So it needs to be a properly terminated, properly wired cable to go in between.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And it definitely needs to be a data cable, not house wire. You don't call me with a communication problem and say, yeah, I use 6-conductor 18 gauge to run, 500 feet down here to this other D805. I'm going to tell you to go find some Cat5 and rewire it. So.
Well, while we're talking about, what about readers? What do you recommend as a minimum for the readers? Or what
all of our readers,
ideal?
the spec is 18 gauge, 6-conductor, shielded. Reality is you can certainly use a 22 gauge 6-conductor for anything out to 100, 150 feet. But if you're running a long haul with it, particularly when you're running the keypads, the lighted keypad readers, those draw a lot more current. And when you start getting out there at 200 and 300 feet, if you have a too small a gauge cable, you'll get power fluctuations out at the far end, and you'll get very intermittent operation. Cards will work, pin codes won't, and crazy stuff like that. So the spec, up to 500 feet, 18 gauge. Reality is, yeah, if you're down at 100, 200 feet tops, 22.6 is fine.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And only one reader on that run.
What? You can't have multiple readers?
You cannot double up readers on that run. That question comes up about once a week.
But my brother-in-law did that
runs. Yeah, well, good for him. That's the answer you'll get. Depending on the time of day and how tired we are, it might be a little coarser than that. But it works sometimes, but it is not supported. If you call me having a problem with it, I'm going to tell you to wire it separately. You know,
Right.
one port, one cable per reader, and quit trying to cut corners. That's all
Right.
I can say. All right.
Yeah. Short of document. It's cutting corners is going to cost you in the long run. I was, like I said, I've been in business a long time. I've both managed companies and owned my own company in the past. And inevitably, anytime I try to, even to the customer's benefit, help them out and make it, kind of cut a corner or make it a little more cost effective, it ended up biting me in the backside. And at the end of the day, I had to go back and do it right. So plan it right from the get-go and deploy it properly with best practices in mind. Dave, did you want to talk about the 215 or legacy product and kind of go through some of the changes that we've
Sure.
made with it?
So the new panels are what we refer to as the B panels. They came out January of last year, of 2019, and the difference in these panels is number one is they're much. I've had people tell me this is sexier looking panel, which I never quite refer to a panel as sexy, but nonetheless, the additions to the panel is if you installed our previous products, you know that we always had a separate power supply for the 215, the 225, and the 425. We no longer have a separate power supply. Now it's integrated into the panel itself. It has up to 4 amps, 2 amps for the board, and 2 amps for 12 volt DC lock power. Additionally, we also incorporated the light bar that goes across the top of the panel that the 825 was known for, and now we have it in all of our panels. And just as kind of an FYI, a lot of people don't realize this, but that light bar does pull out, and you can use it as a trouble light to see smaller areas of the panel. I've showed customers that out in the field, and they didn't even realize that light bar does come out. So you can pull that out. And then also on all of the doors of the panels on the 215, the 225, and the 425, the wiring diagram is silk screened onto the door itself on the inside to help your installer so that he can basically follow the wiring. If he can read, he can hook up a Rosslare panel. It really is that simple. So the 3 panels are just the upgrades from the old legacy style panels to the new B panels. It's night and day, guys. It's night and day. Additionally, these panels have a very nice wire plastic punch out on the back of the panel and on the sides for wire management. And you can reuse them, which is nice. Unlike the old style, once you punched it out of the can, you couldn't reuse it. Now you can actually close that up, move wire, etc. So it's definitely a much nicer and much easier panel to install.
And as Dave pointed out, the power transformer is long gone. It's all self-contained. It's a wide input range supply. So actually, if you wanted to, you can run it off either a 120 or a 240 outlet if that's what happens to be close by, just by changing the power cord. And it's a standard plug-in power cord in the bottom. So no electrician required for wiring it in. Comes with an AC line cord to plug in a standard 120 volt outlet. You can swap those out and use whatever is available. So it's a much more robust power supply design than the old days. So.
And from a cost standpoint, saving your customers money, the power supply is included for your lock. So you've got 2 amps that you can use to power.
That's correct.
Three 1,200-pound mag locks or any number of door strikes.
Well, a 1,200-pound mag lock at peak is going to draw a half amp.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, you could in essence run a standard mag lock, 4 standard mag locks off of this power supply, in essence. But what happens is some people get into locking panic bars and things like that, which draw a lot more than a half amp, and obviously the power supply wouldn't meet their needs. Another thing I wanted to point out too, as well, on these new panels versus the legacy panels, providing you have the correct software upgrade of our free software, you can incorporate the legacy panels and the B panels together on the same network. But it does require a software upgrade, which is pretty straightforward and simple to do.
Great point. You know, with our 225 and our 425, and Dave, you talked about this earlier, the 215 is not expandable inside the enclosure, but the 225 and the 425 both are. We've got, if I can get my mouse clicker to work, the 225, you can use the MBDO2B, which will add initial 2 readers. It also gives you some auxiliary and door inputs and auxiliary outputs. This is powered from the power supply for the controller. And with the 425, you've got actually 2 choices. You've got the MDDO4B, which will give you the initial 4 doors. And you also have the MDIO84B, which will give you the additional 8 door inputs or 4 auxiliary outputs. And again, both of these are mounted directly on top of the controller, mounted right here. So this decal peels off, and you mount it directly on top there for both of these. So your 225 can expand out to control 4 readers or 4 doors. Your 425 can expand out to control 8 doors or 8 readers. Anything you guys want to interject on that?
Oh, I'm good.
All right, and then of course your 825, again, is our flagship. It's got several different options to work with. Larry, do you want to talk a little bit about the 825?
Sure. So the 825 is a totally new design. It's got more processor horsepower built in. This actually runs an ARM processor as opposed to just a microcontroller like the older panels. So it can handle a lot more in the one unit. Hence the reason we can slave off of it, up to 12, hold it back to 8, but expansion boards and run everything off of one panel. Now, with that said, my telco background comes out. If you've got a large system, I always say split it across at least 2 825s so you don't have a single point of failure, because the expansion boards here are truly slaves. If the 825 goes down, all the expansion boards downstream of it go down. So if you got a large building, split it up 2 panels at least, so you don't lose all the doors at one time. But beyond that, it is much more flexible, and we've got a variety of expansion capability on it. The D805, which gives you 4 more doors, or 4 readers, I should say. The R805 for relay control, or for elevator control, is 16 output relays. Obviously, we can daisy chain multiple R805s to handle additional floors, that sort of thing. And I've built some really fairly large ones. Then the other 2 options, oh yeah, Greg crashed, he says. So just us. The other 2 options there give you a variety of just IO ports for input for monitoring, along with a few extra relays, or just inputs. And where I've used the inputs on at least one site, they had several doors, like fire doors and things of that nature, where they didn't want access control on them, couldn't put access control on, but they wanted to know if those doors were opened. And we can monitor them. We can set up alarms, alerts, pop-ups on the screen, email alerts, etc. And that's where the IO boards come in frequently in the field. But the 825, you can put 1 expansion board on it, so you can have up to 8 doors in the main can, in the main unit, or you can have your 825 with 1 relay board on it and take care of all your elevator up to 16, actually up to 20 floors, all in the one can. And then you can add additional expansion boards externally via OSDP or RS485 and expand it on out. Right now, I think the specs say 12 expander boards. I try to hold that down to 8, because again, you start pushing the limits on it, you're asking for problems. So on a really large system, hold it down to 6 or 8 expansions per 825. And remember, all those expanders are running off that 1 825 when you're engineering it.
So
Dave, you want to?
yeah, so when you're talking about the 825 and you're talking about the expansion boards, if you're adding doors, the D805 is the part number for the expansion board for the 825. We have a cabinet called the ME1515, and the cabinet allows you to install up to two expansion boards in the cabinet itself, and you also still get your 2 amps of lock power out of each cabinet as well, out of the ME1515s. Additionally, keeping this in mind, as your system grows, your cost exponentially goes down on having an 825 design system because unlike the competition where you constantly have to keep rebuying motherboards to expand your system, we don't require that. We simply require you take an 825 through your RS485 and you add it to your ME1515 expansion cabinet and just put your two D805s in, and you're immediately creating a 16-door solution just with two cabinets. And this gives you a nice advantage over the competition because, quite frankly, you are not going to be able to find a more cost-wise, better performing product in the industry right now. Some people have brought this to my attention that some distributors charge more for our products than the competition in some cases, but I can assure you that overall package, the Rosslare products are priced from a price point of view are almost in all cases a more affordable solution. So hopefully, when you have something like that, and another thing that Greg touched on earlier is Greg had commented about us helping you design systems. So, if you're in the East, anything east of the Mississippi, and you need the parts and smarts regarding putting a system together, I strongly suggest let me do it for you. I'll have some questions for you as to how you want to design the system, meaning whether you're going to be using fobs, whether you're going to be using cards, you're going to be using keypad procs, or just procs only, whether you're using Bluetooth or any of the UHF products. And once I get that information, then I can take and put together a system for you, and I can also forward that information to your distributor so that you can get a price point from them, and I'll support your distributor on getting you that information. When you talk about distributors, Rosslare does not sell through ADI. We sell through everybody else but ADI. And what you'll see in Greg's presentation a little bit further down the road here is that you'll see ADI on there. That's ADI Europe. That is not ADI USA, North America. So we do make products for ADI. We OEM for them as well as HID, Honeywell. Our AYK12C, which is the Honeywell OmniProx, is our best-selling reader, and that reader in particular is also one of our best-selling readers, simply because it's an infallible product. It works great every time. It's easy to use. If you use the MPK01 trim ring with it, it gives you the ability to really create a nice solution at a cost point that your customer is going to be very happy with. I see we have Greg back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My computer just completely locked up and rebooted.
It has a virus.
Yeah, it's got the virus. It's exactly right. Okay, let me see. I've got, and I appreciate you guys running with things while in my absence. So I guess we got the 825 covered.
Yeah, we got the 825 covered. I talked about the 1515. Larry touched on the expansion boards, and I talked about from a cost point of view how the 825 for the larger systems, 8 doors and up, is going to be the affordable solution to move forward with.
Right. And just going back to the 825, here's some installs in the real world. These are both 825s, or these four controllers are 825s with the 18D 805 expansions. We also have the 825s out in a DIN rail, so you can get a lot more in a shorter or a smaller space utilizing the DIN rails. Larry, do you want to talk about software?
Sure. The software for managing all of our panels, same software, regardless of the little 2-door 215 up to 1,000 doors on a AC825 system, is the Extrax NG. None of us know where that name actually came from, by the way, but There's no license fee up to 256 readers. So you can build a sizable system. There's no recurring fees, no nothing. It is truly, free as in free beer software. The and even when you do buy the license for the larger systems, it's a one-time fee. It's not a recurring. So everything today is one-time fees. Video integration is a one-time fee based on the number of cameras that you're adding, but there's no recurring charges down the road on it. Extracts NG today is supported on Windows 7 through 10 or Windows Server 2012 to 2019 now. And I've installed them pretty much all of those along the line somewhere with the recent versions. I think it's very straightforward once you learn the basic navigation. Like any other software, it's very straightforward, and a lot of stuff is already set up for you. In the panel configuration, once you add the panel to the network, it knows that reader 1 is going to control output 1, reader 2 output 2, things of that nature is all built into it. You don't have a lot of tedious configuration that has to be done over and over again on every panel. Basic operation is already there. I didn't realize how much of a deal that was until I was doing a webinar last year with you, Greg, down there at HL Flake. The guy was going through describing the setup on one of the competitor systems where he had to define every connection, if you will, everything in the software. So ours is, from that standpoint, very straightforward and easy to maneuver around in, just once you learn the basic navigation within the software.
Right.
The video integration, the email verification or email notifications are built in. There's no extra charge there. All you need is access to an SMTP server to send emails, and that's it. And as you've pointed out before, the badge design and printing is all built in. So rather than having to port all your data over into another database and maintain it in 2 places to print badges, you can do it all within Extracts NG.
Right.
Larry, Brian Kessler asked a good question. Why doesn't anyone make Mac software? I never really knew what even though I've been with the company for 5 years, I really never knew what the reason was that Rosslare did not have a Mac capable product.
The main reason we don't have any Mac capable software is everything. Long ago, they started using the Microsoft .NET framework, which pretty much ties you to the Windows food chain, if you will. So all of our software is tied to that, and it's so deeply ingrained in the database using the Microsoft SQL Server, the .NET framework, which is all their runtime environment stuff. It would be a total rewrite to be able to port it to Mac, or Linux or any other operating system. Now that said, going forward, the next gen with the cloud-based product, that'll be a whole different story. Then you could theoretically just use a browser to access it, and no more operating system dependency in that regard. But today, that's why.
Larry, how does it work in the Parallels environment if you were to have Parallels installed?
I've had luck with it on that. Occasionally we run into some quirks with it, and I'm not a Mac guy, so I don't know a lot about it, but I have installed it there and had it work fine. You just have to have it's got to be a complete Windows solution, and you'll forgive me, I don't know Mac that well. They had one option where they kind of gave you a Windows compatibility layer within the Mac OS. That would not work because we depend on too many background processes running, mainly the Microsoft SQL Server and .NET. But on their product where you actually had a Windows virtual machine running, where you had a true Windows environment, that worked fine. We had some quirks around the networking and such that were a problem, but stuff we could work around. And as long as I mentioned the virtual environments, Doing a lot of installs these days on VMs running, now it is running Windows of some sort, but on I've done it on VMware, I've done it on Microsoft's, can't think of the name of it now, virtualization environment. We've also run it on some cloud-based virtual machines. So uh, on an Amazon AWS machine, where they had a dedicated cloud server set up,
Mhm.
Windows environment, we put it on there, and one of the Microsoft Azure environments. Big thing there is you just have to make sure you've got a good wide open VPN connection between where you're running it in the cloud and where your panels actually are. So.
Gotcha. And I need to update this slide. I got on here that you could have up to 10 simultaneous clients, but you told me this morning it's what, 50?
40 or 50 now. Yeah, I think it's 50.
40 or 50, yeah.
Yeah, our software is a true client server architecture. So your base install, your server machine, as we'll call it, while it may just be a desktop machine, it's the server for Extrax NG. That's going to have your database. It's going to have multiple components on it. You'll have the client, the Extrax NG server, the SQL server, and then a tool called Server Monitor. And those will all be running on your primary machine or server machine. But you can then install additional clients only on workstations. So your security station can have their own for monitoring the system. HR can have their own for adding and deleting users. And likewise, we can create operators for those functions so that they only have access to what they need access uh, to manage or monitor what they need. So.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. I always tell folks it's as simple as you want it to be, or as complicated as you want it to be. It'll work both ends of the spectrum. From once you get the software installed, you're 15 minutes from having a functioning access control system, and you just
Right. I mean, the basics really take very little time to get set up. Like I said, most of your defaults are there. Once you've added the panels in, told the system what you have out there, it's not automatic. You do have to do some searching and a little bit of legwork. But once you've added your panels in, your basic operation is there. All you've got to do is go add users and credentials, and you're good to go. Now, beyond that, you can build in all kinds of customizations via the AC links, which we haven't really talked much about yet. You can do the mail alerts. You can do video integration. Um, as you said, you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. So.
Yeah. And you brought up AC links, and that was going to be the question I asked you next is what is AC links, and how does it benefit our integrators?
Well, AC links is a way to go in and do customizations or automations right within the software without having to write any real code. So some of them can be a little convoluted, at least building them initially, but there's a lot of power, a lot of things available in there where you can, for instance, to put a door on a timer, that's where you go, is you build an AC link that just says tie this schedule to this door, have it open on this schedule. But beyond that, you can also do things such as setting up a particular badge to also disarm the alarm system in the morning by triggering an additional relay anytime that badge gets swiped. We've got was one company out in Arizona that did a multitude of AC links where they had buzzers and sounders, lights going off, so they could tell anytime somebody used a remote door, things of that nature. Now, back to one of your originals about documenting, they didn't very well. So that's one downside to building a bunch of stuff in the AC links, is there's no place for comments in the software. So you need to document what you were trying to do, because later when something's not working, it's very difficult to thread back through all these little AC links, simple automations, if you will, and figure out where it's breaking down. So that's where you really do need some documentation of, okay, I could use this input for this, and this is what it's supposed to trigger, type of stuff. But,
And one thing I think we don't talk enough about is the fact that this is really a profit center for the integrator. They can write simple code and charge whatever they want to the end user, and you make a substantial amount of money for free software. I mean, it's free. Again, it's free up to 256 readers. So this is something that a lot of our integrators are not really leveraging to their benefit, and it's a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be done with them, and you just have to spend some time with it. It's one of those things. Once you get to know it, it becomes much more straightforward. You added that to your slide. I like it.
How about that, huh? Yeah. So Dave, do you want to? I know you talked a little bit about readers earlier. Do you want to cover the our readers?
Well, as you look at these 125 kilohertz readers, if you look at the AYK12C, that's the reader I'd mentioned earlier regarding the Honeywell OmniProx. Bosch also uses this reader. Several companies do. It's really a go-to reader. I see Greg added the MPK01 since the other day. I'm glad to see that. But the MPK01 is a mining ring that I recommend you use on every reader installation for the AK12C, especially on a metal surface. The trim ring should just be just a standard. Consider having that part of it. The AYH12C is a reader that is a single gang, similar technology to the AK12C. The AYH12C is also manufactured by Rosslare, but a lot of other companies use it. I have a very good friend who owns a large building here in Pittsburgh, and he has a Galaxy system that was put in years ago, and it's the same reader on it. And then of course you have the AYL12C, which is your mullion style as well. It's a larger reader. But once again, these are all 125 kilohertz readers, and they're all indoor-outdoor readers as well, fully potted, definitely worth the value. At times I think they're underpriced, but they're a great product, and you can make money on these.
And just give you an idea, this is about the size of a deck of cards, and this is about the size of a Matchbox card. Give you some size comparisons. To talk about the CSN Select readers, CSN Smarts.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, our CSN Smart readers give you a step up when it comes to security. So the 125K has been, it's honestly in North America and US in particular, the standard. In Europe and some other places in the world, the technology is, people are embracing, is a little bit more secure and has a little bit more demands. So we're starting to see that now with, and we're responding to that through our CSN Smart readers. The CSN Smart readers support 9 different smart card credentials, and including MyFair. And by smart card, you could also store information on there. So the card that unlocks the door could also have a balance for your cafeteria, your employee data beyond just what's needed to access that door or access the door. So there's a lot of information you can install on that card beyond just the credentials to unlock doors. We have several readers that offer Bluetooth capability. 2 of them are shown here, the 6255 and the 6355, both of them ending in BT, Bluetooth, BT. And our reader, the BLE ID reader, is available in the App Store at no charge. So that's the end user app. That's the one that they're going to use to unlock the doors. And the BLE admin, there is a slight charge for that. It's $3, but that's what you, the installer, would need to program and configure the readers. There's a small picture of the actual app here. This is what you would see when you open up the app. The way our app is designed is for battery savings life and also for security. So you don't want to walk down the hall and have your app on and unlock all the doors as you walk through there. You also don't want your Bluetooth seeking locks all the time and running down your battery. So in order to use the Bluetooth app, you have to have the app open, and it will identify all of the locks, Bluetooth locks in the area. As you see here, these are different doors, and you just click on the door you want to unlock, and it unlocks. It's really not a difficult or timely process. 3 to 5 seconds is pretty typical. And then with the Android app, we also have NFC built in there as well that works with these readers. So you don't have to open the app. You just simply have to have the phone unlocked. Hold the phone up, and it will unlock that door. Anything I missed on that, guys?
You know, a lot of people, I think you're going to see a change in the industry. We're already seeing it. It's still, I'm going to take a wild guess and say probably 65 to probably 75% EM, and 25% MyFair. But we're seeing a change right now in the credentials, simply because of now you can go to Lowe's and you can have your HID EM credential cloned. They have a machine there that does it at some of the Lowe's throughout the country. I have on Amazon, they make EM cloners as well. So I think you're going to see probably within the next 10 years that we're going to be about a 90 to 95% MyFair 1356 credential versus the EM.
Yeah, here it's in the Tom Thumb grocery store down here by the house also has one of those.
A cloner.
The kiosk to clone your RFID cards. Yeah.
Yes.
The CSN smart readers right now are my pick from the nerd perspective, because you can work with so many different credential types. So you can use MyFair cards, and that's what I carry in my wallet. But you can also use NFC tags, which are NFC is just a variation of the same technology originated by MyFair or under the MyFair name, and it all runs at 13.5 megahertz. They all have similar protocols, etc., to read. So there's a lot of different ways to use it. NFC, you can use your phone, as Greg said, with the app running. You can also use what's called an NFC tag, which is basically a sticker you can put on almost anything. You can use that as your credential. Just a lot of different things you can do with it. A lot of the billing or transit cards out there are in fact MyFair cards, and I know at least one place that is looking at them. They're going to use the MyFair readers to be able to read the transit cards, just to verify the number on it. So they're about to see a lot more use, I think, in this country.
I agree. And the touchless technology, I think, is really going to be, we're going to see more and more
yeah,
of
and
that.
going forward, the touchless with the Bluetooth, where you literally don't have to get even close to the reader. There's going to be a lot of places going with something along those lines.
Right. And these two readers, by the way, are fully potted. They're indoor or outdoor. The really only difference between the two is the 6355 has the pin pad on there, and the 6255 does not.
Yeah, and I did have one of these mounted out on the front door there at the office for quite some time and had no problems with it, summer and winter. Now our winters are down here, of course, are nothing like Dave has to put up with up there, but 100 degrees in the shade in the summertime, and it was on the south side of the building, so it got plenty warm, and we never had any issues with it. So, and it's also totally unprotected out in the rain too.
So going forward, as far as credentials, I won't go into the entire list. We've got hundreds of credential options available, but this is just a quick little overview of some of the credentials we offer. We have two styles of tags. We have the rings and what we call our twisted tag, and both of these are very popular. I will tell you, just full disclosure, the rings seem to have a little bit better read range than the twisted tag. There's
Yes.
more copper in there, but both of them work great.
If I could add something, Greg, one of the interesting stories one of my customers in New York told me regarding the twisted fob. it's perfect for when you're wearing gloves. It doesn't slide out of your fingers.
Ah,
Now,
yeah.
So it's kind of something you don't think about, but he said, I love it because I can hold my whole keychain with it and scan my door with gloves on and it never falls out of my hand.
Great point. Over here in the center is our shark's tooth. It's our MyFair credential. It's again stylish and fits nicely on the keychain. And we have 4 different types of card credentials in different varieties. These first 3 I'll talk about are ISO style, so you can print them with a badge printer. But you've got a UHF, which works with our long range readers. You have our MyFair, the 13.56. You also have the 125K proximity card. All 3 of these here are ISO, so it's like a credit card style, or it's a printable card. This one is actually mispictured. It should be a clamshell card, which is a traditional card, thicker card, a little bit of a textured surface that you could not print on. But we have an option for just about every client need as far as your credentials are concerned. All right, who wants to talk about long range readers?
Our long range read, I'll go. Okay. Our long range readers are a huge seller for us right now. I have a distributor up in Connecticut, Power Door Products, that buys a ton of them. He's ordering them constantly. He just ordered 2 probably an hour ago. They're a great solution to gate controls, condominiums, marinas that require some type of gate access. It's a Wiegand reader, 26-bit out of the box, but you can also customize the Wiegand output on it. It's both Bluetooth and passive RFID. It works off of our UHF window tag. It also works off of our UHF hard tag. And hopefully in the very near future, it'll work off of our headlight tag. We're still waiting for that to become a reality. But the 915 will work at 19 feet. The U920 will work at 39 feet with your UHF tag. The other option, like I said before, is the Bluetooth technology. And the Bluetooth technology, as Greg explained earlier, allows you to use your phone app to control this as well. So if a customer has a window tag on their car and their wife's car goes in for service and they have to take a different car, if they have the Bluetooth capabilities, they're able to use their phone to activate the reader. These readers, from a price point, I'm looking right now at AWID's 25-foot reader is on sale with ADI this month at $1,264 for the integrator. I can guarantee you we have a better performing solution for a lot less money on that product. And it's every bit as good as far as potability and weather. And it is a product that has proven to be very, very robust in the Rosslare lineup.
And I'll throw something else out there. Our reader comes with the full mounting hardware, the power supply, and it does not require an additional aiming device. You aim it directly from the reader using a piezo, built-in piezo and LED light. So you don't have to purchase an additional aimer, saving you some additional money.
And for configuration, the same app that the installer would use on our Bluetooth door readers, RFID readers, the BLE admin, will also work on this reader to configure it. And you can adjust things like the power out from it, which to help control the range. If you're in a tight place, you might not want to trigger 40 feet back. So you reduce the output power of the reader so it doesn't trigger until they are within, up closer to the gate or the door, that sort of thing. You can also, there's a lot of other parameters you can tweak in there. You can mess things up, but there's always the reset option in the app. But you can also control things like how often it reads and things of that nature, which depending on the application and where you're doing it, you may want to slow things down or speed them up some. And that's some of the things we can help you with in tech support. If you're having a specific problem, we'll get in with you and look at what's going on and make some suggestions on that.
Great points, thanks. Biometrics. Larry, you going to tackle biometrics?
Sure. The new AYB 9000 series readers our latest biometric offering. The 9120, 9150 there, the first one on the left, that's available either as an EM. Well, first off, they all do fingerprint or credential of some sort, and Bluetooth. Again, the same Bluetooth app. But the 91X there on the left, you can get that either in MyFair or EM. That gives you a fingerprint and credential only. The 9250, that one is MyFair only. There's not an EM option on that particular one. What's different about it really is that it has a built-in small LCD screen there that as you see, 4 function keys, which will be supported ultimately in the Axtrax NG. So you could use it for something as simple as a doorbell, for instance, or something like that, to call a particular person. Make your own, again, back to AC links, you'll be able to trigger things to happen when in the AC links. And it also has a camera. Now the camera in this one is mainly to be able to use remotely to see who's at the door. We can set it up to take a snapshot and do things of that nature. And then the big one there, the 9350, gives you credential, fingerprint, and facial recognition as well. Enrollment of course, for credentials is simple. That gets enrolled with a desktop reader or just by number. Fingerprints, you can either enroll fingerprints at the reader or you can enroll them with a desktop reader. For the facial recognition, you're going to have to enroll at a reader. Right now, there is no desktop enrollment for the facial recognition. But each unit comes with its own power supply. They do require both the Wiegand wiring going back to the panel, as well as an Ethernet drop to the reader itself, because the fingerprint, the biometric information, be it facial or fingerprint, is all managed over an Ethernet connection directly from the server. And this is not unusual with most of your better biometrics. Rather than trying to store everything out there on the unit itself, it's actually managed from the server and then gets downloaded to the readers, or to the terminals as we're calling them now. They've kind of gone past the simple reader stage. There is an option in them. They all have a built-in relay. They can be operated in a standalone mode to release a door automatic or without it being connected to an external panel. There is a separate software there, the Rosslare Bio 9000, that's used for doing that. I'll be quite honest, I've yet to do one like that. Everything has been within Axtrax NG. The beautiful part there is it makes it so much simpler because it's all truly managed within the software itself. You set up a user in there, you enroll their fingerprint in there, you configure the fingerprint readers in there up front. Everything is done right there in the one software. So it's all connected together automatically. You're not having to move data from one package to the other or duplicate effort in 2 different databases. As I said, you can use Bluetooth from the phone. These do not do NFC at this point, but they will use the same Bluetooth app does work with them. And on all of these, using them with our software, you can set up dual or multi-factor authentication. In fact, you have to be kind of careful on the 9350 that you don't set it up where they have to do all 4 of them, but in the software. But you can do dual authentication, so you can force presenting the card and the fingerprint, for instance, on the other 2, or card plus either fingerprint or facial rec on the 9350, that sort of thing. So.
And the camera, if I understand it correctly, Larry, the camera will actually, it's on a gimbal and it will move up and down.
Yes, the 9350 is kind of fun to just watch it operate, because it will swing up. There are some requirements on lighting. You can't just put it anywhere. It's not weatherproof. It needs to be inside. And the lighting does have to be consistent and from the right direction. And that's all spelled out in the manual on it. But once you get that set up, when you walk into range on it, you'll see it start searching for it, and you'll see an image in the screen there, and you can tell when it's locked in on your face, and you do need to be still for a few seconds while it scans. But yeah, it'll accommodate a height, and I can't remember the exact specs now, but depending on where you mount it, and this, again, this is all detailed in the installation manual, you can adjust the height of where you mount it to adjust for, your average height of the users who are going to be using it. So it,
It
you
does.
can,
It gives you a window. It gives you a range that you can locate it
yeah,
at.
yeah,
A range of the height. I have it on my display that I use on tabletops, and the camera does work great following you around when you walk up to it. And plus, it replies, and it'll reply in a word format, so it'll tell you it
it's
does not
true.
recognize you.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Gotcha. Well, Dave or Larry, do y'all have anything you want to add, or we want to go ahead and wrap up and try this again? Try this again soon. I think it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Hope everybody else did, and hopefully it was informative. We covered a lot of stuff, so I know it was a lot to absorb. Dave, do you have anything you want to add?
No, if you're interested in more information from me or a demo, once the smoke clears from this stupid virus problem, I'll be more than happy to meet with you and go over our products with you. So let me know if I can be of assistance in any way. I'd be happy to help you.
Well, real quick, Greg, can you pull up a browser and go to extractsng.com?
I'd be happy to. I think it's a great idea. Okay. All right.
There we go.
See it. Yeah.
All right. So this is a portal. ExtractsNG, like I said, is the name of our software. This is a portal I put together here and manage here in the States. So it's real simple. I'm not a web designer, don't intend to become one. So it's pretty simple and straightforward, but I've got the latest software. If you scroll down just a little ways there for me, Greg. Now we've got the big notification up there, but I'll always have the latest version on here with some basic release notes. It's a zip file that I put together that includes not only just the software, but it includes several of my guides that I've put together, quick guides on how to install the software and things of that nature. It includes a copy of the full release notes and a few other little PDF files and things of that nature that I bundle up with it. But there's your basic minimum specs. You can see I've actually updated it for the SQL Server. SQL Server and Windows Server versions. So this is always going to be there, the latest and greatest version. You can get older versions off of here, but the newest one will always be here. And if you'll scroll back up for me.
Do that.
Up here on the quick buttons, so TeamViewer is our tool of choice to remote in with you. We live by TeamViewer, and if you're going to give us a call, and please don't hesitate to give us a call on tech support. First thing we're going to ask you to do probably is just go ahead. If you've got network access, let us in where we can see. It's so much faster, so much easier if we can get in and see exactly what you're seeing. Otherwise, there on the other quick buttons, I've got links to our common manuals. I've got links under videos and guides. Some of my quick guides are there. Some YouTube videos that were done by my predecessor. They're getting a little bit dated now, but I've tried to weed out the ones that are totally out of date. So these still give you a lot of good information. And the tech guides, the installation guides, I'm in the process of updating some of those. But for instance, the Extracts installation guide, I keep that one up to date with new releases and anything you need to know there. So this is always free. You can get to it. There's no sign up required. Go ahead and go back to the main. main screen. There you go.
Okay.
A quick link to our access catalog and one to a list of credentials that may or may not be quite up to date, but it's easier to read than what's in the catalog. Click on the link there, though, for Access Panels Series B, if you would. So this was my attempt at a kind of a configuration screen where you can see what the capabilities are at a glance of all the panels. I've got to add the 825 on here. This was originally separate because it was just the new B series panels, so I need to add the 825 in here. And then as you scroll down, you can see the more detailed specs on all of the individual panels, including things like power consumption, power capability, etc. So, but that's there. You know, if you're trying to size a system, feel free to use that also. Obviously, give us a call, Dave, Greg, or myself, or tech support in general. We'll be glad to help you to size it up and configure it. All right.
Very good. Thanks, Larry, and thanks for bringing up Extracts and GI, the website. I'd forgotten, and that's a terrific resource for everyone. So,
click on the link there for the FAQ, if you would. In Israel, at the corporate headquarters now, they have updated this, and they're adding to this all the time. There's another true knowledge base type product that we're trying to get, that I'm working with them on. We're all adding content to it. So some of this stuff is pretty dated. Some of it is more current, but there's a lot of answers to simple questions buried in here. And you can see it's a long list. It's evolved over the years. So that is there. That's, you know, if you can't get a hold of us for whatever reason, that's a possibility. As soon as the other one, the knowledge base, matures a little bit more and we get some more content done for it, I'll put a link to it also up here, but that's going to be run out of Israel for the time being. They're also working on a true ticket system so that if you do call into tech support, you'll be given a number and you'll be able to go check the status of it if it's something where we are working on a problem with you. So that's what's coming down the road.
Awesome.
And just a quick plug for technical support. Like Greg and Dave, we're working from home. I'm in the Louisville office. Dusk is in the Roanoke office now. It's been a learning experience for all of us. So if you do call the tech support number, you hit option 3, you're going to go to voicemail. And it was the only way I could deal with it with our telephone switch, so that we could all see it remotely and then respond to the voicemails, etc. So call in, leave a voicemail. We're doing our best to make the wait time no more than 5 or 10 minutes. Obviously, if we're busy, it may be longer, but we're calling people right back. It's not like you're going to go into voicemail and get back to you sometime tomorrow, unless we run out of time, of course. If you call in at 5 till 5, your chances are not too good, but leave a message. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. Usually that's going to be in minutes, not hours. So, all right.
Okay. Well, great stuff. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Larry, for joining me today, and thank you all who participated. It's great seeing you out there, and look forward to doing some more videos in the future. Hopefully, it won't be as long. We'll do more specific, but this was a wide-ranging topic. If you won't mind, put in the comments there what you'd like to see us cover next, and we'll start planning on that. And I'd like to see us at least do these a couple times a month, maybe once a week. 15, 20 minutes would be the ideal time frame, but let us know what you'd like to see next and what we can do to help you grow your business. I really appreciate your time, and unless Dave, you or Larry have anything else, we'll be signing off.
Greg, thanks for putting this together, and everybody be safe and wash those hands.
That's right.
Exactly right.